Okay. It's part of our learning journey. Of course, we have to know the importance of active listening in our lives. Okay, that's first. Second would be to know the three keys to active listening. And let's check if you have a third agenda on this. Yep. Of course, expect that there is always the drill and practice. So I hope you'll jump in tonight. And again, welcome to those who just joined in. Okay, then these are our learning journey for tonight. All right. Now, is active listening important? What's your answer, class? Is it important? Is it a yes or a no? Can you see some answers on Zoom and on Facebook? Looking at your answers on Zoom. Yep. Everyone's saying it's a yes. Wow. It's a unanimous yes. And also on Zoom, Eduardo Orbeta saying yes, it is important to listen actively. That's great. Great to hear that. Yep. And when you listen actively, what happens? What happens if you listen actively? Because you defined earlier that active listening is listening and understanding at the same time. Of course, if you listen well, you'll be able to understand. It's because, there you go, I'm seeing an answer from Franchelle. I don't know if I've read your name correctly. You'll be able to reach a mutual understanding and comprehension before acting out to participate. And My Bell says, you understand well. And Nehemiah says, learned. Yep, that is correct. Totally agree with everyone. And on Facebook, yep, they're saying it is important. And it is important because it gives clarity. So that's number one. It gives clarity. And it also shows charm. And lastly, it gives chance. So it's all about the three C's. Clarity, charm, and chance. There you go. It's because you understood, because it's clear, and it became clear to you, right? And there's a charm to that affects the speaker, and then gives you a chance to show who you are. But in general, what is active listening? What is active listening? So let's try to define what is active listening, though I've already asked you to define active listening. Now let me show you a definition of active listening. Here you go. So active listening is a way of listening and responding to another person that improves mutual understanding. Do you agree with this? That there is going to be mutual understanding. It improves your relationship if you listen actively. Yeah? Can I see some answers on Zoom and on Facebook? That it improves your relationship? That there is a mutual understanding if you listen well? Right. Because who would want to stay with a person who doesn't even listen at all? Especially if you really need to talk. And nowadays, in a situation where we are trapped right now, some of us would like to speak, would like to share. But if the other person doesn't even really care, then that mutual understanding is not present. Yeah? So right now, if you listen actively, your bond will be stronger. Take note of that. And another definition, because there are other representations of a definition of what is active listening, this is when you fully concentrate on what is being said rather than just passively hearing the message of the speaker. I don't know if you're aware of this, but we are very much involved in the use of our, let's say, mobile phones. Totally agree. You may be smiling at me right now, yes, and perhaps watching or binge watching. And if someone talks to you and you're on your app, on your, let's say, your mobile phone, what would you feel? Someone's talking to you and then you're not paying attention. What would you feel? I see some answers on Zoom and on Facebook. Okay, Mary says, I would feel somewhat insulted. I'll feel ignored. Yep, that is correct. You are ignored, you are insulted, disappointed, and what else? You feel unimportant or irritated. You would feel irritated. That is right. Every person deserves a chance to be heard. Do you agree? You need to be heard. So someone has to listen. So let's try to concentrate and listen to the message of your, let's say, friends or the speaker, just like what's happening right now. If you are listening actively to me, then you will get all of the messages correctly. And there's going to be clarity. Yeah? And lastly, my third definition of active listening is it is a structured form of listening and responding that focuses the attention on the speaker. So how can you respond to your speaker appropriately and correctly if you did not listen at all? Your reply might not match and would just prove that you did not listen actively. Correct? So to emphasize this and to solidify what I'm pointing at about active listening, let's go ahead and watch a short clip on active listening. So I hope that your speakers are all on, or maybe your earphones, and try to listen to this video and watch at the same time. Are you ready? Can you see some answers on Zoom and on Facebook? If it's a yes, then let's check how ready you are to listen actively to this video. Great. Okay, here we go. Let me know if you can hear it by saying another yes to me.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like my parents don't pay attention to me. It's like I'm not even there sometimes. They don't. Maybe I have to do something drastic, like dye my hair.
Sure. Sounds like a great idea. A huge part about being a good friend or a romantic partner is learning to communicate well with the other person. Being a good listener is more than just allowing the other person to speak. You've got to be able to hear what the other person is saying in order to understand the meaning behind their words. There are a few things you can do to be a good listener. Pay attention. Don't be distracted by things happening around you. Don't get on your phone and start scrolling or texting. Don't judge what the other person tells you. Let them finish their thought without worrying that you will jump to conclusions. Don't spend time thinking about what you're going to say next. This is hard to do if you're feeling defensive, but it will really help if you listen. Show empathy. Empathy means that you show the other person that you feel what they feel. Don't offer solutions to a problem unless you're asked specifically. Most people just want support. They want to be heard. They don't actually want you to solve problems for them. Ask questions to be certain that you understand what the other person is saying, but don't interrupt. Wait until the person pauses. Be responsive. Nod your head or reflect back by saying something like, "You must be so excited," or "That's terrible." Being a good listener is an important skill and can help you to become good boyfriend or girlfriend material. People like to be heard, especially by those they care about. And if you need practice, and don't we all, try it out on your close friends and family members.
Oh my gosh, Jim, what have you done to your hair? You really got to talk to me before you do such things. So, anyway, till next time.
All right. So, so what can you say about what you watched for tonight? Did the girl listen actively to his friend? Okay, most of you said no. Can you prove that the girl didn't listen to her friend, I mean? I see some answers. How come you say it's a no that this girl didn't listen to her friend? Okay, so we're seeing an answer here from Jude. She's scrolling to her phone while the boy is speaking. Yep, very obvious. And aren't we all guilty about that? Is it a yes that we are guilty about that? At times we do that. And how would you feel if you are on the other end? That someone that you're talking to, it hurts. Okay, it hurts. Right? You feel ignored, right? And sometimes you don't want to open up anymore. You would agree with me, yeah? That's right. You wouldn't open up anymore because you feel ignored and as if it's going to be a waste of time because this person is just scrolling through her phone, which most of us are doing most of the time. So if we don't want to feel ignored, then let's do what is appropriate. And Annie Cell saying, no, her attention is on her phone, not on her friend. Correct. Yep. And what else would prove that she's not listening to her friend? There you go. I'm seeing an answer on on Facebook. She said, what did you do to your hair? Yep. So, yep. And she's not interested to the guy saying, what did you do to your hair? When in fact, the guy mentioned that he wants to color his hair. Am I correct? So that way, the girl is not really intensely listening to her friend. You would feel offended. Thanks, Johnson. You feel offended. And since almost all of us are doing that at some time in our lives, yep. So let's try to make a change then. And I'm seeing an answer from Erica Delgado. He talked to her about getting his hair dyed. Correct. He mentioned that. But she didn't pay attention, so she missed the part where she actually agreed to it. And then later on, when the color of the hair was already changed, then she made that statement. So as if she didn't really listen. And I'm also guilty about that sometimes with my friends because I'm so preoccupied. So let's not be preoccupied with other things when a friend is in need and would really want a listening ear from us. Yeah? I hope everyone's agreeing on this. All right. And yeah. So it's high time that we pay attention so that we won't feel the same way too. You empathize on this, huh? Okay. Thank you for all of your answers. And this is going to bring us the 3 keys to active listening. So let's try and learn how to really listen actively. Let me just admit some of the participants who are waiting at the lobby. All right, what are the three keys to active listening? So here we go. We have number one, mindset. And then our number two is intent. And number three is focus. So these are the three keys to active listening. So do you have an idea of what a mindset, intent, and focus is? Have you tried listening actively to the speaker, to your friends who are in need of a listener? Anyone? Yep. Can I see some answers on Zoom and on Facebook? I'm seeing 7 replies. Yes. Okay, the answers are all yes. And on Facebook, so you just agree, yep. Okay. All right. So when we say mindset, so set your mind that it is time to listen. So you have to condition yourself that it's time to listen. Just like in this lesson, before you came in and tried to log in on Zoom and on Facebook, you have set your mind that there's someone going to talk about active listening, that your share of work here is to listen. And for you to create that mindset, you have to remove all distractions. So class, before you could actively listen, you have to set your mind and prepare your mind to the idea that you are going to listen. All right? And the distractions we're talking about, this could be your phone or social media. You agree? Social media. So because your phone is just beside you, if you're using a laptop and you have a phone, it will distract you from the lesson because you will be scrolling up and down looking at social media. Would it be Facebook, Twitter, or what other social media apps do we have? Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok. Yeah, you keep on scrolling. So you might, be distracted and you will forget or not even notice what's being discussed. So let's do away with all of the distraction. Put it aside, maybe put it inside a drawer, or if you're with a friend, put it inside your bag as you try to talk and listen to her. And that's the mindset. Can you do that? Yeah? We have to. I remember when I was in the university, and you know the subject, and you're waiting for the professor or your teacher, you have to set your mind that there's going to be a new lesson. But for some of my classmates who are not really listening actively, you would know because they would be borrowing notes. Because they weren't able to take down everything because they were distracted. Right? I don't know if you agree with this. Yeah. You need to focus according to Lady Grace. That is correct. Messenger also. Yep. That's Facebook Messenger. Can be a distraction. Yeah. Hopefully everyone would have that mindset to listen actively. The second key to active listening, class, is intent. So decide on your desired outcome. So what you want it to be. So when you listen, choose whether to help, advise, or send the speaker away. Are you there to listen? Are you there to talk? or are you just going to send her away? So once you have decided on your intent, now that you have decided that you are going to listen, what do you want to do with what you will hear? Are you going to help, advise, or send the speaker away? So sometimes when a friend would ask for a listening ear, sometimes it ends up that we are the ones talking a lot instead of them talking and us listening. You agree with this? Class, it's not all about you. If it's active listening, let the speaker talk and you listen. So as what the video said, it's pretty evident, right? You have to choose whether you're just going to listen or you're going to talk. So what will happen if you talk alongside with your friend who wants a listening ear? Your friend, again, is not going to open up anymore. Because, the flow of thought is being disrupted, that you might forget what else to say because you kept on interrupting. Let us not interrupt. Make sure when you listen, have that intent that you are going to listen. Decide on it. That you need to focus. Correct, Erica. You will interrupt them. Yeah, Clemmer. So it's either you have them, you listen, or are you going to give an advice? If your friend would ask for an advice, then that's the time you talk. So let's not give unsolicited advice unless someone asks for it. I hope that is pretty clear on active listening. And the last key to active listening is focus. It says, get the details, note the words, and the tone shared. So class, when we say focus, you listen not only to the words they are saying, but you also listen to the way they are saying it, on how they deliver their words. So you need to look into their gestures, their movements, the body language, and even listen to their tone of voice. Because there are a lot that we can interpret in the tone of voice, in the gesture of the person. Especially the facial expression. I know it's a challenge nowadays because you don't get to meet your friends. Right? And it's mostly online. So if it's online, if you don't use, let's say, if you're talking to a friend because you're sharing and she's listening, then it's high time that you focus and just listen. You can listen to how she delivers her lines. And you would sense the emotion of the person, whether happy, whether sad, or mad. You agree with me? So let's be sensitive. Let us all be sensitive on things. The reason why your friend contacted you, it's because your friend needs a listening ear. The reason why you are here is because you need to listen to things that can teach you more or maybe refresh you if you have already known about these things. And I'm sure this is going to make you a better person in the end. Now, what do we need to do to make listening effective on your end? What do we need to do? What do you need to do? If I ask you that question. Anyone who would like to Give an answer from Zoom and on Facebook. So, as a listener, how would you show to someone speaking to you, that you are actually listening? You can show them. Okay, there you go. There's an answer from Erica. Answer or respond in relation to the info you get from that person by being responsive, according to Franchelle. And anyone else on Facebook, maybe? By being responsive. You are correct. And when we respond, it could be in other ways, not necessarily by using words. So, and Ryan says, by simply having an eye-to-eye contact. Yep, you can do that if it's face-to-face. Yes? But if it's going to be online, maybe if it's also a FaceTime or voice call, yep, then you can do that eye-to-eye contact and perhaps wait for the other person to breathe or to stop before you say something. Let's not interrupt. Okay? So, first is use nonverbal cues to show others you are listening. And you have mentioned some of the nonverbal cues. Yeah? You can either nod, showing that it's a yes, that you agree. You can either use your hands, because our hands are very effective, especially if it's open. Yep, that's correct, Erica. Patting the shoulders. Anyone else who'd like to give an example of the nonverbal cues? Princess is saying, look at her or him and don't do anything. But make sure that there's a very good eye contact there. Right, Ramon, eye contact. And on Facebook, show empathy, correct? I'd like that answer, react. You can react, but not with words, okay? It should be nonverbal cues. All right? So I hope this is clear for everyone. And clap. Hug them, okay? But we have social distancing as Lima. Listen, yeah, Dominico, yes, listen, hug them. Maybe if a family member within the house only. If you haven't, you never got out of the house, yeah, that's fine. So Mary Joy, clap. Yeah, you can clap, especially if the story is showing happiness or joyfulness. And you agree with this person. Body language, the gestures are really important. Gestures. So class, when we say nonverbal cues, we don't use language at all. These are all body language. All right? Body language. Okay. Aside from that, of course, I'm not going to discount what you have already mentioned about verbal cues, but there are other answers here. Let me just acknowledge. And it's all saying facial expression. That is correct. Your facial expression will say it all. And Vilya Divine, using hand gestures. Yes, body movements according to John. And on Facebook, trying to gestures, thumbs up maybe, yep. So class, if you agree with me, can you show me a thumbs up? And if I see a thumbs up, it just proves to me that you're listening actively to me. Am I right on that? Correct, you are. You should show that you are listening to him. Virtual, yeah. You are correct, because we can't hug them, then a virtual hug will do. But everyone knows that there's a big difference, right? Yeah. And if it's online, thank you very much for Johnson. If it's online, the emoticons that you can choose from, there are a lot. And this will show the nonverbal cues. Thumbs up, hearts, and I'm not seeing hearts right now. Can you show me some hearts on Facebook and on Zoom? There you go. Whatever color that heart is, appreciate it. However you do it, because I don't know, Zoom doesn't have any emoticons, right? But you can get away with it because you're all technically, you're very good at technology, ladies and gentlemen. A smile, maybe a smiley, a thumbs up, yep, that is correct. Those are your nonverbal cues. Okay, all right. Thank you very much for showing me some love on a Monday night. And some likes. And A-OK, Clemmer. All right. So another would be, aside from the nonverbal cues, we have the use of verbal cues. The verbal cues are, could be that we can ask questions, right? When your friend would stop talking, then that's the time that you can say something. You agree with that? Thank you. So that's the time that you can say something. So be attentive so that you know when to come in for your verbal cues. Okay. Now what happened to this? Any other examples for verbal cues, ladies and gentlemen? Type it in on Zoom and on Facebook. Thank you. Tone of the voice. Yep. Tone of the voice. That is correct. Because when speak more loudly, so if it's loud, it can denote a different feeling, right? So you can speak softly, or moderately, or loudly. So you notice that when you watch a movie and you really like the movie and you wanted to share to a friend that movie, of how much energy you put into it when you talk, with matching gestures. Yeah? Very active, correct, Nehemiah. You are very active, especially if you really like it. Right, Erica's saying, choose carefully what words you would use since it could affect the person you're listening to. So verbal cues. So when someone listens, but we have to be prudent if we are going to share our thoughts after listening to the friend, right? So when we say prudent, that's right, we choose the words to ensure that the listener wouldn't be offended. And we don't want to do that because we don't want to feel it also. So let's try to choose our words. That's a verbal cue. Recognizing and countering objections. Right. So again, when you listen, it's just listen. And if your opinion is being solicited, that's the time that you talk. Right? Let's not interrupt. Repeat the words for emphasis if you are asked for any opinion at all. Yeah. Looking at the Facebook comments right now. So that's how we use the verbal cues. After listening, and you can sense in the tone of voice if you can participate in the discussion. But again, take note of the 3 C's also. Yeah? And the keys to listening actively, because you need to focus. Last, we still have two more. Okay, here's the clincher. And as Filipinos, since most of us, we are very talkative, and we wanted to share more of ourselves instead of the other person sharing. But here's how we should do it. Keep the conversation on them. So when we say keep the conversation on them, let them talk and talk. And what do you do? Of course, what else? You listen. Are you guilty sometimes that if someone's talking about her experience about it, whatever experience that is, whether good or bad, and then you really wanted to share yours as well? Yeah? Have you done that to a friend? And then it ended up you have the time. You are the one talking. So your friend who's supposed to be sharing her experience with you, stop talking. Well, we are all guilty about that. Yeah? Excuse me. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so let's not talk about ourselves whenever someone needs a listening ear. And let's give others a chance to talk. So if your opinion is needed, again, so I kept on repeating this, if your opinion is needed and solicited, then that's the time you share. Let's be sensitive on things. And lastly, take action and make a follow-up on the contents you have listened to. How do we take action? So, for example, a friend of yours called you up and asked you, do you have time? Okay. So actually, I did that over the weekend. I was into a meeting, so leaving Starbucks in a few minutes, and then my phone rang, and a friend of mine asked me if I have time, and wants to meet me in Starbucks also. Okay. So I said yes. And I knew it. So I focused because I'm a very talkative type of person. So on my way to the other branch of Starbucks, I focused and convinced myself that the intent is to listen and to focus on what the other person is about to say. So I already created that mindset because I don't want to take away the time from this person. Yeah? And then, after that talk, a good 2 hours, and the next day, I made a follow-up of what she discussed, just to check on the progress. So it proves that you really listen. And you can do that, right? Can I see a thumbs up? Or hearts? Or a yes on Zoom and on Facebook? That you can do it? That you will be sensitive? That you can show the nonverbal cues? Use verbal cues when being asked? And then make sure that you listen and keep the conversation on them? And then later on make a follow-up? Let's say if it's about a dog who died and your friend is already crying, yeah? Then you can make a follow-up. How are you right now? I hope you feel better. Or if it's about a complicated relationship, you don't know where you are supposed to position yourself, whether you're in a relationship or not. Yeah? And that happens not just in relationships, but also in school, in the office. right? You have friends in the office if you're working. In school, of course, your classmates and even your teachers and even facilities in school. Yep. They share and you just have to listen. You know the difference that it can make to a person when someone listens? It would make them feel better. They would feel what? If someone listens. If you're in their shoes, if someone listens to you, how would you feel? Can I see some answers on Facebook and on Zoom? You feel loved? I can see some hearts. You feel important? You feel great? Someone's listening? Any other answers? And you get a call and this person makes a follow-up? How did it go? So you can say that you have a friend because someone listened. Again, let's not hug the time for others. Empathize. Yep. You feel appreciated. Correct. Empathize all the time. All the time. Okay, so I hope you have learned from this what to do to become an effective listener. Okay? Then again, we're not done yet. We still have a few more minutes. And just to check, if you can now listen actively, of course there will be a few questions.